Hello, humane marketers. Sarah Znekrocha here. Welcome to another episode of the Humane Marketing Podcast, a place to be for the generation of marketers who cares. This is the show where we talk about marketing your business in a way that feels good to you, is aligned with your values, and also resonates more with your conscious customers because it's not pushy, ethical, and also beautiful. So if you're a regular here, you know that I'm organizing the conversations around the 7 Ps of humane marketing. And if you're new here and this is your first time, welcome. I'm so excited you're here. You may want to download your one-page marketing plan with the 7 Ps of humane marketing in the form of a mandala at humane.marketing/one page, the number one and page. So again, humane.marketing/one page. And with that, with no further ado, let's dive into today's conversation. Hey, Kim, it's good to hang out with you and talk about passion, profit, and partnership.
Hello, it's great to be here. Thank you for the invite. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah. We're here because you're part of the Humane Marketing Circle community. And during our last expo, you proposed a great workshop, which I missed, but luckily there was a replay, so I got to see that. Around this topic of passion, purpose, and profit, right? It's kind of like this trifecta, those three things that go together. And I just thought it was such a great topic, and it fits my 7th P of the Humane Marketing Mandala, which is partnership. And so I thought it'd be really great to talk about it here on the podcast. So thanks for doing that. Let's just dive right in with this compass that you showed during the workshop, and I'll have you explain that, knowing that some people will
Yes.
just be listening, and so you just have to kind of explain the
Yes.
4 different components of this compass.
So for me, first of all, the compass is kind of before you start going into partnerships and so on and so on. I think the first very step is, where am I currently at? And that's what the compass is for, to kind of see, where do I start from? So you have 2 things we'd be measuring somehow, which is, on the one hand, you have passion on the lower end, and then you have purpose. And obviously you can work low on passion, or you can work high on passion. And then the same thing for purpose, low on purpose or high on purpose. Before I explain like the 4 quadrants we've made, I do want to make it clear what I mean with purpose and passion. So purpose for me, because you hear the word a lot, and also passion, they're a bit overused probably, but purpose for me is not just what is my purpose, it's a positive impact purpose on planet and society, so on planet and people.
Right.
Because I'm all about sustainability. So that for me is, are you working low? Does it have not really an impact, a positive impact on planet or society, on humanity, or does it really have a high impact? So that's where the purpose lies. And then passion, we can all be passionate about stuff, and let's be honest, everybody that has a business or has a job, there's always things, even if you're passionate about what you do, there's always things you like more and you like less in every single job. But let's say that like 85% of your time, you're working on something that you really, really like, almost to that effect that it doesn't feel like you're working because you enjoy it so much. That's the thing that's passion for me.
Yeah.
So there's 4 quadrants. One is low on passion, low on purpose, which is, I'm not really doing what I'm enjoying, and it does not even create a positive impact. That one is called the pitfall. And then you have the right next to it, which is, you're still low on purpose, but you're really high on passion. You love what you do, but it doesn't have that positive impact on the rest of the world, let's say it like that.
So it's kind of missing also that meaning for you. right? Like it
Yes.
doesn't give you meaning.
Yes.
Hmm.
So you do like doing it. A lot of people say, how is that possible? But I can give an example later on of how that is exactly possible because I've been through that.
Hmm.
And that for me, and I've seen it in more people, is an absolute profit trap because it makes you money. It pays the bills and you actually like doing it. And then what I hear about some from some entrepreneurs are kind of like, how do I move from here to working with impact? Because I seem to be stuck. Well, yes, and if you go there, you'll get stuck for quite some time.
Hmm.
And when there's the top two quadrants, to say it like that. There's the progress one, which is actually the one you want to be in to get to the power one, which is the one I love what I do and I'm creating a really good impact on planets and people. The progress one for me is not exactly entirely excited by the actual job or tasks that I'm doing, but it does pay my bills and it does create an impact at the same time. Now, there's a reason why I'm saying that the progress quadrant is the one you want to be in to move on to the power one. Um, on power as well, I know it's a word with a really negative connotation, and in general, this is a side mark. I use a lot of words, even profit, like in our realm, they're not used a lot. And for me, I decided to use them specifically because I want people to give them another meaning. Like they are what they mean to you. And I decided to give them a positive meaning for me. So being in, it's all about empowering. If you're in your power, creating a lot of impact, making money, working on your passion, then that is a perfect quadrant to be in.
It's also why we're talking about this and we know each other because as you
Yes.
might remember, passion is my first P
Yes.
and then personal power is my second P. But yes, I hear you. You know, people think, oh, personal power, is that like too strong? Is that overpower? No, you
Mm,
have to stand in your personal power, and that's what makes you unique. And for you, it is that powerful position where you know who you are, that you can go into trustworthy relationships and partnerships as well, right?
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
love that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So those are the four
Yes.
quadrants. Um, what came up during the workshop? Where did you see that most people were at when you asked them?
To be fair, a lot of people were in the power quadrant already, but that is
Okay.
because of the audience, obviously. As said, this was during the Humane Expo
The
we did
expo, yeah.
together. So
Hmm.
obviously, there's people in there that are already more aligned, that already are really clear on their purpose. They've worked through this and so on. So for me, I think they were mainly there to kind of figure out, oh, wait, the partnership thing in all of this, what where does that take me? Now there was a couple of people I think that were leaning more towards the progress one, and then maybe one person that was a little bit in doubt, as in, am I stuck in the profit trap? Kind
Yeah.
of. So, but as said, it depends on the audience you have, and it was really nice to hear that a lot of them were already in that power quadrant, actually.
Yeah, it's really good to analyze that for yourself, to think about
Mm.
whether you're in the wrong crowd, because that's something that comes up quite often in the marketing like we're human program, where people are like, yeah, but whenever I look around, I'm not seeing that kind of way of showing up in the world. And often it's because, yeah, they are in the wrong crowd. And so it feels lonely to be in the wrong crowd, right? If you're the only one who cares and everybody else is talking about how to make $1 million in 3 days, then you feel very lonely when you think, yeah, but is that really what I want? Um, and so I think it's this journey of creating this awareness and knowing, okay, I might be in
Mhm.
the wrong crowd. How do I work my way towards a different audience? And And I'm actually doing that right now a little bit as well with the inner development goals. I really saw that these were my people.
Yes.
And so I started, and this has been 3 years in the making. I started, being there, connecting, and now last year I created a new community with someone else. But it's like this slow, steady, this is where I want to be, and these are my people, and then working towards that. I think,
Yes.
yeah, that's why it resonated so much with me to see, oh yeah, this is the journey, right? Through these quadrants. Yeah.
It is. That's why I say the profit trap is where you get stuck
Yeah.
because you love what you do, but you're not in the right room.
Yeah.
So you won't, it's really hard to move from that one to the progress one. It's actually easier to go from the pitfall one, which is low passion and low purpose, to progress.
Yeah, because you
Because
hate it. You're like, oh, let me get out of here, right? Yeah.
one, and secondly, if you accept things that you might not be overly excited about work wise or project wise, it will at least get you in the room with the right people. Because if it's a high on purpose, then you know, like, okay, this is just a step. I've been through that. It's kind of like I need to get here to then move on to power.
Yeah.
Um, because you're more motivated as well. Like, okay, this is not what I want to be doing, but at least I'm surrounded and I get to know more and more people that are my crowd.
Yeah. In that workshop, you also shared an example that sometimes you just need to accept a a job for the money, but
Yes.
then you made some distinction. Like, how do you do that so that you don't get stuck in that trap there?
I can give actually because obviously everything this was created from my very own experience that I noticed like okay I've been through this so this is my advice. The profit trap, for instance, I love software. I love everything that has to do with tech. I love implementing it. I love figuring it out. So I had an offer when I just started my business. And this was someone who knew that I really liked that and was really good at that. And they said, don't you want to come and do a consultancy for us for like a year more or less? And we'll give us a quote and so on. And it's to implement a CRM. But it was a business that value wise and purpose wise was not aligned with my values, nor, but still, I found myself thinking, well, this is 12 months of this much money coming in every month. I think it was because this has been 5 to 6 years ago, in between 1,500 and 2,000, but that a month. It's kind of like, oh, yeah. And I think a lot of people will reason then, I'll take that and on the side. And I'm like, no, that's not what I started my business. I ended up sending them the quote. And then a week later, contacting them again saying, I'm sorry, I thought about this. It's not the right time currently for me to collaborate
Yeah.
because I know you need to think long term. You need to think long term. Don't do this. You'll get stuck, and then other references will come up and recommendations and so on, and you'll go where you don't want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is an example of low purpose, high passion. So it is possible.
Yeah. I just have to share another example of my son.
Yes.
Just recently, he needed to look for an internship, and he's a graphic designer in school, and so he didn't have a spot until like the very last minute, like 2 weeks before he was supposed to start. Got a lot of no's, and then a coach that he's working with pushed him to accept this offer where it was more like, according to him, it was more like a copy shop, and he's like, I'm gonna hate it. It's the worst. He was like, I don't want to be there. And then us parents, we had to kind of like, make this decision. Well, do we take that risk? That he says no to this one, the only thing he has, or do we also think long term and think, well, he can keep looking and who knows, maybe he'll find something that he's really passionate about and it's going to be great. It's going to give him great references. And so, yeah, in the end, he did find like his dream position. It's actually on the website. I had to laugh. It said like, we only work with humane projects. I'm like, there you go. And so, yeah, but just holding that uncertainty, right? In this case, as parents, there's no money involved, but holding that uncertainty and say no to something is really, really difficult. And even more so if it brings in, a certain amount of
Yes.
money. So, yeah.
Add on to the equation in my case that I am a sole widowed parent with a mortgage and a son, and I still
Yeah.
said no.
Yeah.
Um, I think for me, there's two things to keep into account, and this is an exercise that I always do when I feel that fear comes up and takes
Mm.
over, because we start making fear-based decisions.
Yeah.
At that point, one, a lot of it has to do with trust the process, trust yourself. You will be fine, which already is a really hard one. But then if I noticed, oh, this is fear coming up, like, will I be able to pay my bills? Will I this? I go back every single time to wait, what is the worst thing that can happen?
Hmm.
And in the end, if you start breaking it down, like really breaking it down, kind of like, well, that no other project comes up, and then I'm going to have to look for a job again and leave my business behind. That's not such a bad thing. So it kind of tones the risk down, and it gives me, at least, that's the trick I keep on doing. That's what I use when I moved countries every single time. It's like, what, wait, what's the worst that can
Yeah. Yeah. And then you realize that's the worst thing. It's like
happen?
there's much
Exactly.
worse things than that. Yeah.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
then you go ahead and you do it anyway. And I have to say, 5 years later, I'm very, very happy I took that decision that day of saying no and paving my way further on into the purpose one.
Yeah, because we're creating with every yes, we're creating an ecosystem for ourselves, right?
Yes.
And the minute you say yes to the wrong thing, well, that's the beginning of your ecosystem. And then more and more and more of these offerings will come your way, and soon enough, you're trapped in that thing. So
Correct.
yeah, so important. Okay, so we have the four quadrants, we have the compass, and then you said, well, that's really the beginning of thinking about partnerships. So it's kind of like an analysis that you do before you step into partnership mode. So
Yes.
once you have this awareness, what do we do next?
Well, there's a couple of things because for me, it's not, oh yeah, now I'm going to find the partner and that was that. It's a bit slower than that.
Right.
You've got certain phases as well, like values that you need and need to figure out. Now, what I also say is, I know people going into partnerships works best if you're already clear on your very own purpose, call it ikigai, whatever it is.
Hmm.
Even if it's not, what I did learn very fast is kind of, well, it's actually by doing that you'll figure it out. You can go into, I don't know how many online videos and so on to figure it out, but it's also by doing an actual project that you figure things out. So the next one from there is kind of like, what are my principles? So there's actually five. There's trust, there's shared values, there's shared impact goals, because if you go into a partnership, obviously you need to make sure, and I'm not talking money, I'm not talking just like, oh, profit is a goal. No, I'm talking beyond the money, like what is it that the two of us want to gain out of this?
Yeah.
Reciprocity, like the balance of return. And then you mentioned it before, the people that kind of go make $1 million in 3 days. Yeah, even though I talk about profit, this is not going to happen in 3 days.
Right.
So slow growth is another one.
Yeah, I love that. So again, trust, shared values, shared impact goals. And shared
Reciprocity.
impact goals, again, are bigger than just the project that we're creating, right? It's like
Yes.
what is this impacting in the world, the work that we're doing together?
I think it's really important to know that because I've seen like partnership is yet another word that sometimes, for me, what it means, and when I speak about partnerships, it's actually all co-creation mode.
Yeah.
It's not you have your business, I have mine, let's collaborate. That's a collaboration. So all partnerships are collabs, but all collaborations are definitely not partnerships. A partnership for me goes deeper than that. It's kind of like, let's create a business or a project together. It doesn't have to be a business, but it can be a project or something, but we co-create this, like we
Right.
do this together. So hence, well, what are our shared impact goals then? And impact goals, again, for us, but also remembering purpose. What do we want to reach? What's the impact we want to create together on everybody else?
Yeah. I love the distinction you make between collabs and partnerships. I think there could probably be also collaborations with shared impact goals, but they're
Yes.
time restricted, where a partnership to me feels like more open
Long term.
long term,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
No, definitely. I think in each and every collaboration, even um, for me, and then it comes on the shared values. I very much know what my non-negotiables are, and my non-negotiables are so strong that I even do that when I accept a client.
Hmm.
So it's not just towards it's clients, collaborations, and partners. So it's actually everything. But yes, for collaborations, that is also really important.
Yeah. I'm actually collaborating right now with for my new program, sell how to sell in 2026 and beyond with this group expert, small group expert, Carrie Dobson, and we're recording our collaboration prep. And in the last call, we she took me through these questions on the collaboration, and one of them that I think is good to add here is she asked me, "What are your concerns about this collaboration?" Right? What are you worried about for us working together? And I think it's so important to talk about that and, yeah, with vulnerability, speak about our fears. Do they have to do with the ego? Do they have to do with being worried about who knows what? But address
Exactly.
that and and then it feels like, oh, we talk, it's kind of like what's the worst thing that could happen, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, here are the concerns, we talked about them, and now we can build on that.
I think as well, what I've noticed as well is at times, and I think the same thing happens with concerns, you think you know. You think before going into a partnership or a collab, you think you know what your non negotiable is and what your main concerns are until you go into partnerships. The only way to learn or collabs is do that.
Right.
Because you'll notice, like, oh, I thought this was actually my non negotiable, but this bugs me more, or this upsets me more, or this. So you get to know a lot about yourself as well as a business owner or an entrepreneur or even a professional in general when you start collaborating.
Yeah.
So
If
that changes
anything,
over
you
time.
grow yourself. Maybe you won't
Yes,
grow your business with this one, but you grow yourself, and then
exactly.
you can apply next time. Yeah.
It's a really important one as well to allow yourself to make mistakes. It's fine from every single partnerships. I've had partnerships that went totally wrong. I learned a lot from them. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
Very grateful for
Yeah.
that thing going wrong.
Yeah.
But that is
I mean, we
something
started out with a partnership and or collab and that specific small project, well, it didn't go so well, but we're still here, we're
yes,
still collaborating.
exactly.
So, yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So what are some ways that people can test partnerships? So maybe
Okay.
it is those collabs. Is that the first step?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's one recommendation I always do, and I get that it depends a little bit on the type of business you have or the project you're working on. But if there's one that's my way of testing it out a lot, is co-create a small event, however small it is, a webinar, an online talk, a get together, it doesn't matter. Just
Yeah.
because when you set up an event, however small it is, actually a lot of things are needed. Like, what are the goals of this event? How are we going to promote this? Who are we talking to? What's our audience? What do we want to get out of this? How are we going to set up? What are the tools we're going to use? All of that teaches you so much about one another. Because when you set up an event, it's kind of like, oh, yeah, you're the techie one. I'm not. Oh, you want to have that audience? No, I was actually thinking of another audience. And that's where the differences come up, most definitely. Like
Yeah.
for me, that's my go-to to see, is this going to work? Let's test. And I think in a lot of businesses or even for solopreneurs, it's actually very feasible to do that. Everybody can do a webinar or something. And collaborating on that is an interesting exercise
Yeah.
as a small test.
And I think you're right when you said, when you asked people where they're at in when you hosted that workshop in the community, they already knew who they are. And
Yes,
so that is very helpful to go into partnership because if
yes,
you are still at the stage where, well, first of all, you haven't done any inner work, but you also very new in your business, there's a lot of doubt, right? And so that's why I see most people go, ooh, don't want to do any collaborations. I'm not even sure what I can bring to this collaboration. So in a way, it's like, well, that's the challenge though. It's like work on that because you will grow as you are having these collaborations.
but when it comes to, because we crossed over right into the alignment phase with the test, because actually there's stages to creating a partnership.
Okay.
So one, there's the principles you kind of need to think about in advance. But then for me, a lot of networking nowadays has a negative connotation. Once again, I'm like, let's make it a positive one then. I'm not changing the word. I'll give it another connotation. In my case, yes, we put slow networking in front of it. The first step is you're solo. It's just you. Start thinking about you, what do you want, those principles. And then you go into networking. Now, networking for me is very different than connecting. The word connection and connecting nowadays as well. Hey, want to connect with me? Hey, want to connect with me?
And
Mm-hmm.
then nothing happens, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So like, yeah, sure, let's be in touch because networking is just a first contact. It's, hi, this is me and this is you. And then you can decide, do I go into creating a connection with that person where you start to get to know each other a bit more? You start nurturing the contact. That's when you start connecting. And
Mhm.
then once you've connected enough, that's when I think you can, well, that's when you can go into maybe we should co-create something small. Let's see. And that's the alignment phase. You need that before going into a full-blown up partnership to check, like, is this right for us, for
Yeah.
the both? And then you step into a partnership, actually.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's good. Um, we're calling this episode How Can Purposeful Partnerships Turn Your Passion into Profit? So far we've talked a lot about purpose and partnership. Let's talk about profit. So
Yes.
where does the money come in? And yes, we agree, okay, it's slow, but we do have to have this money conversation eventually.
Yes.
So when do we do we start with the money conversation? And then, yeah, how can we turn our passion into profit?
So for me, the partnerships is a vehicle to get to the profit for different reasons. Lots of us are indeed solopreneurs or small businesses. So even more in the purpose realm, lots of us feel alone. That's why there's so many communities. That's why your community exists. That's why mine exists. So there are, so through a partnership, it has several advantages. It's not 1 + 1 is 2, it's 1 + 1 is 3. And that comes to the impact you're creating, that comes to the profit you're creating, because you put your experience together, you put your audience together, you put so many things together that then automatically makes you stronger. You strengthen one another. The money conversation obviously needs to be had, because this is another thing people misunderstand lots of times. Not every partnership is a 50-50 when it comes to money. You can go into partnerships saying, this is a 30-70, whatever. It needs to feel right for you. That's the most important thing. And what I've seen, funnily enough, is also that I recommend very much partnering with people that might be passionate about totally different things work-wise, like task-wise, than I am, that you're complementary. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
love stuff marketing related. I hate the writing up reports type of things. And I co-created a brand with somebody that doesn't really like the marketing side of things, but yeah, more excited about the paperwork. That was a brilliant partnership,
Mm.
because that was the one thing that I maybe couldn't always give to my clients. And he had that the other way around. So it's kind of like, let's combine this because we have shared impact goals, shared values, and so on. And we complement one another. And that automatically led to a lot more profit, because we were capable of doing certain projects together and have more reach, which automatically translates into. And I very much realized, if I should have done this by myself, then either I need to pay somebody to kind of do this work for me, but I can't yet. So it's kind of like this, it's just me. How do I tackle all this? So
Yeah.
it strengthens you a lot. And that's where the profit lies. I feel a lot of solopreneurs are just trying to do it all by themselves, even though they're part of a community and so on. And it's kind of like, well, why don't you like create a partnership somehow?
Yeah.
Besides what you keep doing, which is perfectly fine. I mean, you can keep doing your own project, but it'll really get you into more profit.
More profit, and maybe we can also say that profit is not always money.
No,
Profit is also more time to be human, more joy because you're working with someone who is very aligned. What else? More fun. So yeah, profit can take many different versions. Mm.
more energy as well. I said, for
Energy.
me, it's brilliant that there is somebody that absolutely loves reading these really, to me, boring reports and outlines that our clients sometimes ask, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, this is fun," and I'm like, "Yay!"
Yeah, and vice versa. They're like, oh, I can't understand how she thinks this other thing is fun, but
Exactly, but
that's how we're all
that is
different.
so
Yeah.
for me, that's priceless.
Yeah. Yeah.
To be fair, because so, and I think it's an important thing that people have to see in partnerships as well. It's yeah, what do you like doing that I might not like as much, and the other way around? And is that complement? Can we use that together?
Yeah.
Um,
It's amazing.
Ultimately, it goes beyond money, obviously, but for me, profit is also something. I think this came about as well because I noticed so many solopreneurs in the purpose realm struggling with money or
Mm.
struggling with profit. One, I still feel due to limiting beliefs and the negative connotation money has in society, as in the billionaires of this world are all bad people and they're creating the wrong impact and so on. And I even myself heard myself saying lots of times in the beginning, like, just need to pay my bills and I'm fine and it's all good, and like kind of down. I don't know how to say that in English.
Yeah. Play small, right? And then say,
Yeah,
well, I just,
exactly.
yeah. Hmm.
And then I came to the realization that that is not what I want.
Mm.
That I feel the more money and more profit, and now just talking money wise, it's good to have all those add ons, obviously, the more impact I'll be able to create because that'll make it possible for me to hire people aligned with my values as well, to maybe even invest in companies that are doing a really good job or help out solopreneurs. So there's so many things added to that. But for me, it's kind of like, let's talk about profit because it is important. We need to make profit. It's fine to make profit. It's fine even to make good money. It's
Yeah.
fine. It's the
Yeah,
way
and we
it is.
need more good people make good money, right? Because
Exactly.
the
Oh,
good
I love
people will
that
always
phrase.
bring back the money to where we need it.
I'm going to use that, Sarah.
Yeah,
We need more
the good,
money, good people making good money. I
yeah,
love that.
yeah, yeah. I think that's a nice quote to wrap up here, but I'm glad we need to talk about the money. So that is just,
Yes.
and I think it's part of that vulnerable conversation also at the beginning of a partnership, it's just
Yes.
like let's have this money conversation. So
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, maybe
Exactly.
as a final question, if someone has never worked either on a collab or a partnership, like what's an easy first step for them to do?
Um, I think that the first one is if you're still remembering the phases, right? Solo, networking, connection, and so on. A lot of people are like, oh, so I need to get myself into the right room as a first step. Yes and no, because there's one before. Take up your phone or your LinkedIn or whatever it is and see who's already there within your everybody has a network. Don't tell me you don't have a network. Everybody has a network, but you might feel that it's not the right network, but maybe there's someone in there that you can actually go to and talk, and not as much as in to get in the networking or connection stage. If it's somebody that you feel might be aligned with you, then yes, start connecting with them, start nurturing that connection. But if it's not, they might be connected. And I think a lot of people are scared to ask for introductions.
Mm, yeah,
For me, a really important step is ask for an introduction. If somebody is already there that you know or you look up to and is in that purpose realm, and ask for an intro. If
yeah,
you see, I do that all the time. If I see somebody's connected and I'm like, oh, I would love to connect with that person or get to know that person. And I ask, I'm like, could you possibly introduce me?
yeah,
Again, what's the worst can happen? They say no.
yeah,
Ah, that's fine. If that's not possible, then get yourself into the right room. And in my case, I didn't find the right room. So I basically created the right room,
yeah,
which is also a possibility.
yeah,
You're like, well, the right room does not exist, then I'll just create it. And I started with the slow networking events because for me, that was kind of like, let's start like this.
yeah. Nobody else is talking about that, so let me do it myself. Yeah, yeah. I think it's so key to also, like you mentioned, connect with someone, but we can also just see, for example, what events are they attending, and then kind of get into those events, and then you're like, all of a sudden you notice, oh, there's many more of my people, and I'm not alone. Yeah,
It is exactly because if you go on LinkedIn in the beginning, obviously I came from the corporate world. So my LinkedIn was filled with maybe not my crowd or not exactly. And funnily enough, the events that came up,
yeah, they're
not really mine
corporate-y,
either.
right?
Then I started looking for them, and now it's a constant show up of things I could. Now it's kind of like, no, stop!
There's
It's
too many. I can't attend them all. Yeah,
um,
yeah.
but that's how you do it.
That's
You
where you
start with
start.
one, and then even if it is because I understand that there's a lot of introvert people as well. For anybody listening, like, oh, I don't want to, then just join a webinar, but
Hmm.
go through the people that are there, and then afterwards connect with them on LinkedIn by a message like, hey, I saw you in this webinar. Would
Yeah,
love to kind of stay in touch on here and start the conversation in writing.
yeah.
Not
That's
always about showing up in person and having to speak face to face. There are other ways as well.
Yep. Great, great ways to start collaborating more. I think it's really Yeah, it's where we're heading. I can see
Yes.
that it's, when you started, it was kind of like this new thing, but now I hear a lot more people talking about it, which is great, which is great.
Yes,
And I think it goes together with knowing who you are, because then you show up in partnership with your boundaries, with your clear expectations, and that makes a really good partnership.
exactly.
Yeah, great. Ah, that was awesome. Kim, please do share where people can find you. Tell us about your community as well.
I just launched and haven't really said it to anybody, but I finally created a little small website just with my name, kimdekoster.com, because everything about me is on there, like all of my brands, the projects I'm involved in. I'm like, I need this little thing where everybody, so that's one.
Great.
And I think all the info
Is
is
on that
there.
site.
Yeah,
Okay.
is on that
Yeah.
website,
Yeah.
basically.
Well, maybe what you can do is send me, the compass, if you can send me
Yes, I
that,
will.
and I'll include that in the show notes. So in case people are like, I don't know what she's talking about, they can go and look it
Yes, I
up in
will.
the
I
show
will.
notes. Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
I'll take out that page because by now there's a playbook obviously as well. So it comes with a little like you can do the exercise by yourself. I'll take out that page and send it over so people have that compass.
And yeah, that's great. And if they can download it on your website, well, you know, if you make that available, then let me know and I'll link to that as well.
I will. Perfect.
Thanks so much for being a
Thank,
guest, Kim.
thank you for having me over. It was fun. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for watching and being part of a generation of marketers who cares for yourself, for your clients, and for the planet. We really are change makers before we are marketers. So go ahead, be the change you want to see in the world. And I hope to see you again next week. Take care.